I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, May the 7th, brought to you in part by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. These guys are pioneers in the regenerative medical field. Been fixing issues with joints, back, neck, and the like for 10 years now. About 60% of their patients are farmers and ranchers. For more information, go to kansasrmc.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyard is going to have a good run. About 4,000 head with a lot of cattle coming off graze out there in that area. They've had some little spotty rains around, but most of those places have been stocked well enough. They need to go ahead and get them off of there. And people are a little bit worried about this market. They're going to have about 500 head of calves, be mostly 4 and 5 weight calves, and maybe a little over half of them weaned. About 2,300 yearlings, be 500 yearling heifers, mostly weighing 700 to 900 pounds and mostly selling in load lots. Be about 1,000 feeder steers, weighing from 700 to 1,000 pounds. Be some big steers there, guys, this week, which they don't normally have, but they're figuring have at least 25 full loads of feeder steers there, and then another 600 or so mixed yearlings with some grazing yearlings in the mix there, and a couple of hundred cows. In the cow run, they are going to have 9 black Sim Angus bulls there if you guys have still not gotten a bull and you need one. Refreshing Argentina pressure. And you say, well, how could it be refreshing that we're getting pressure from some? It's just refreshing that it doesn't have anything to do with the bird flu or the government coming down and imposing another restriction on us. It's just straight up fundamentals. Has to do with the corn and the beans more than anything. But they've had some big time floods in Argentina, in the big production areas of Argentina. They've got a port strike going on there. So we're thinking that we're going to have better demand for our grains. And so corn was up big, up 10 cents. And you think, well, that's not all that big. But we're starting to get down here where it's just going to be a weather market, whether it's weather here or weather in South America, whatever it is. But we're about 36% planted on the corn, which is down. It's been wet around, and moisture is not going to be a problem in our Midwest, but that's 6% lower than last year as far as that 36% planted, and 3% lower than the 5-year average. So we're running a little bit behind, but with the modern equipment that the guys have, if they can have a few good days, they can make up a lot of ground there. But it's looking like kind of a washout there on that flood in Argentina. So if we're going to have some better demand coming for our grains, then that's good for our row crop farmers. They've got to live too. These beans have been up nearly $1 a bushel in less than a week. Wow, that is big time gains there, and we kind of come out of nowhere, and it's just really going to be a new thing. And like I said, we're just going to have to be watching the weather from day in, not just week in, week out, but day in, day out on the Midwest. And yeah, I'm sure if they hear of a sprinkle going on somewhere in Illinois or Iowa, oh my gosh, corn's going to be down a bunch. And then vice versa, if the wind blew and it got a little dry in one spot or another, you can bet on the American farmer. He's going to make the best crop he can make in the conditions that he's given. We do have a USDA crop report coming up this Friday. They're expecting it to be bullish, and they're kind of in the planning stages for that here early this week. So that's kind of what's going on there. Box beef cutout values were up big on Monday to start the week. We said these packers are looking at negative margins. I believe that when they show me proof, because they had a good slaughter last week. 20,000 head on Saturday, which we weren't expecting. So that was pretty good. But they pretty much control the supply on both ends of their product, on the cattle end and on the beef end. So they can get those wholesale buyers to come in there and pay more for them if they need to. They'll just limit them, on the out front stuff if they need to do that. we're getting into the time of the year where some of these buyers for that beef product are going to be hand to mouth, because we're getting into the nice time of the year. We've got graduations coming up. We've got Memorial Weekend coming up. We've got a lot of grilling holidays coming up. And buyers, your consumers are pretty spontaneous when they do that. They're like, oh, we're going to have friends over for steaks tonight. They run to the store and buy a cart full of steaks. Yeah, they're more expensive than what they would like, but they're not going to feed their friends chicken breast. We had a larger fed cattle movement in our 5-area feeding region and nationwide than what we thought we were going to have, with really light trading earlier in the week, but had some heavy trading late last week. And the Southern Plains went ahead and sold their cattle and caught up $2 higher. And the market was higher on fed cattle, both live and dressed, and I'm going to tell you all about that here in just a second. Let's talk about the board to open the week on Monday. June live cattle futures were up 30 cents at 176.97. Now that was pretty much the only cattle futures month that was up. But we're trading with a huge basis there. You know, $7, be an $8 basis there, $9. And you know, they can't let that thing get too far away from them, so held that up 30 cents. But then August was down 15 cents at 174.42. Your back months were down, but not big, from 17 cents to 87 cents lower on your live cattle out fronts. Made feeder cattle was down $1.90 at 241.40. August down 187 at 252.87. Your back months were all down $1.55 to $1.90 lower. May corn, like I said earlier, was up 10 cents a bushel at 457. May beans up 33 at 1234 3/4. And Kansas City hard red winter wheat for May up 25 cents a bushel at 685. Very volatile, very bullish to start out the week, anticipating that Friday USDA report. Your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle sales on a direct basis out of your 5-area feeding region had 78,500, which is more than the 75,200 the previous week and 71,100 the same week a year ago. Of your live sales in the 5-area, they ranged in price, steers and heifers, from 182 to 188. But there was only around 100 head that sold less than 184. So you probably shouldn't pull it all the way down to that 182. But that 182 to 188 was $1 to $2 higher. Your weighted average on live steers was 185.74. That was up 159. Nice gains there, mostly in the Southern Plains. Your dress sales ranged from 292 to 296. That was 1 to 2 higher. Your weighted average on dress steers was 294.65, up 26 cents. And as a whole, your Northern Plains sold steady to 3 higher, from 185 to 187 live, and mostly steady dress from 294 to 295. Southern Plains sold $2 higher late in the week at 184. Nationwide negotiated, we had 92,700, about the same as the previous week of 92,600, and more than the same week a year ago, 86,600. Of the 92,700, about 37% of those were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. And I don't feel like they're trying to set us up for a lower market now. I think your packers are trying to get some product around them, and they're trying to get a little bit there extra just in case the trade gets rough on them. But they're going to need the cattle, and they're going to use them that way. I don't see them using it to set the market up for a fall. Negotiated grid sales last week, 45,100. Forward contracts for 12,100 head. And formula sales last week, 249,600 head. Of your 4 out of 5 feeding regions that we get information from, Iowa sold just short of 30,000 head. Big movement for Iowa there. Nebraska, 28,600 head. Kansas, 14,100, pretty much all on Friday. And Texas, only 5,900 of negotiated sales. Box beef cutout values, I told you they were higher. Choice was up $4.56 at $298.76, pushing that $300 threshold there. And Select's up $2.10 at $289.75. Your slaughter to start the week out, 120,000, which is not real aggressive, but it's a lot better than the last two previous weeks when we had a plant down. But it was 7,000 better than last week at this time, and 5,000 less than the same week a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Specialty Risk Insurance is a one-stop shop for all your crop and livestock insurance needs. To get all the information you would need, and they are dedicated into educating you about LRPs, and then of course talk to you about all your ag insurance needs. For all that information you'll need, go to specialtyrisk.ag. Talk about your feeder cattle markets, and I was totally wrong. I thought your big high volume sales would be higher to start the Monday out because we were running pretty bullish late last week. Didn't see this grain pressure coming in early in the week and didn't think it would be that bad. But so yeah, that's why you shouldn't listen to me for forecasting the market. I can just tell you what's going on. But your real-time index on DVAuction, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, late in the day on Monday, sitting at 240.84. That was down 54 cents from the end of last week. Latest CME cash feeder cattle index, 240.05. Your big sales on Monday, of course you have your high volume sales in the Southern Plains. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 5,300 head. Feeder steers were steady to $3 lower. Feeder heifers were unevenly steady. They had a light test of calves, not enough to really establish a market on those. Joplin Regional Stockyards had 6,300, and it was very uneven, and their federal state market reporter was really struggling to find a trend there. I looked up the automated trend or market report on Cattle Market Central, looked at the trend there. It was mostly lower, and mostly $4 to $5 lower in your best tested weights, except for 5-weight steer calves, and they were just a pinch better. But looking at your NationalBeefWire stick-out sale of the day, searching for a market, let's go with Joplin Regional Stockyards. And you look at this automated market report, and you see 415 head of 4-weight steer calves. They averaged 448, weighted average price 318.30. That was quite a bit lower. 773 head of the 5-weight steers, averaged 549, weighted average price 301.01, and that was a pinch higher. 645 head of 6-weight steers, averaged 648 at 260.32. That was sharply lower than last week, but I'm guessing there was more of the new crop calves in there, not as many of those yearling 6-weight kind of calf weight yearlings in there, and the condition on those was all about the price break in them, and you can kind of understand that this time of the year, and the temperatures are heating up. 1,030 head of 8-weight steers averaged 841 at 232.48, and 415 head of 9-weight steers, Joplin Regional Stockyards, averaged 949 at 210.32. Look at some heifers. How about 491 head of 4-weight heifers, averaged 453 at 288.73, about steady with last week, and your heifers were not as volatile. 693 head of 5-weight heifers, averaged 540 at 265.19. 320 head of 6-weight heifers, averaged 632 at 244.23, and 468 head of 7-weight heifers, averaged 750 on the button, with a weighted average price of 224.95. Give you some individual quotes from all around the circuit. How about West Point Livestock Auction, West Point, Nebraska, the Shabans over there in Nebraska, away from their native Iowa, but they've got a good sale going at West Point. They sold 364 steers in one whack. They weighed 912 pounds and bring 242 1/4. Pretty impressive quote there. How about Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri? Jack Harrison sold 72 steers, weighed 606, bring 319.75. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macris in no BS top quote for the day goes to Toby Myers at Sylvan Sales Commission, Sylvan Grove, Kansas. He sold 64 steers. They weighed 854 and bring 256 1/4. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.